Today's training is really about learning how to strategically have complaint-free price adjustments or virtually no complaints. Can't always please everyone at all times, but what I want to do is empower you to have some tools potentially to integrate that will have the lowest likelihood of people having a problem when you need to adjust or increase prices. I'm going to simply share my screen next to draw this out a little bit. The first piece of it is really looking at do's and don'ts. So don't apologize. It's going to, for some of you, be hard not to. Oh, I'm really sorry. I know we've had these prices for a long time, but I'm sorry. Try not to do that. Your price adjustments and increases are necessary and you deserve them. And you don't have to be sorry or apologize for that. Second piece is don't make excuses. Oftentimes people are like, okay, these outside conditions are forcing me to raise our prices. I'm sorry. Once again, it's apologizing. But then the secondary portion is making excuses as to why. Don't bother, save your breath, really try to be unapologetic. You can be sympathetic and empathetic and compassionate when people maybe potentially say, oh, you know what, this is getting a little bit pricey. Yeah, I can totally appreciate that. And I understand, you got to do what you got to do, but try your best not to make excuses and apologize for raising your prices. Don't publicly explain. Well, I want to publicly share when we have adjustments, but don't publicly explain your excuses and apologies. So that's what I mean by 3, don't publicly explain part 1 and 2. Do's. Well, research the industry average, right? Sometimes people don't realize that they're significantly undercharging compared to their peers. So do some research, spend 10 or 15 minutes, look at similarly priced services with a similar amount of value. Don't just look at anyone. You want to really compare. Well, what are they including? For example, let's just pretend you're a boarding facility. One boarding facility, the dog stays in one containment and maybe they have access to go outside through a different door, but they're contained to this one area and that's the entirety of their visit. Where another facility might include in their price daycare or include in their price outside time or a walk. So you want to make sure that, hey, am I comparing apples to apples or apples to oranges? And if, for example, you're providing a lot more value than your potential industry peers, then you should charge for that because it costs you money to pay team members to do that. Next piece is explain your new unique value. So instead of publicly explaining your excuses and apologizing, what you can publicly do is explain your unique value that you bring, but you have to be aware of it. Lots of times businesses aren't, and they're not realizing that, for example, if you did board and training, that if you do in-home board and training as an option, that is way different than a facility board and train. And in-home can be perceived as significantly higher value because the dog's living in a family-like setting. So if that's your unique value, you'd want to make sure people understood, hey, over there, they charge this amount and this is what the dog gets. Over here, we charge this amount and this is what the dog gets. So you need to understand your unique value and your value proposition. Another example might be dog training classes, right? If you include virtual instructional videos each week to go home with them in an email or whatever, and your competitors don't do any of that, well, that's a unique value that you brought to the table that you should help your consumers and customers realize that is different about what you're doing. 3, you got to be willing to outgrow some clients. This is probably one of the bigger issues why people have a hesitation or reluctance to increase prices because they think they might lose some of their clients. And the reality is you may. But in my experience, when you're willing to take that step forward, often their spots are filled with people that were more than happy to pay your additional adjustment or your additional increase. So you have to be willing to outgrow some of your clients. And honestly, like lots of times, groomers, this is really common with, is, you might lose a few clients and then they disappear for 3 or 6 months and then they come right back. And they're like, you know what? I didn't realize I had what I had. I did go find someone that was cheaper. However, their service was much less desirable than what you offer. And now I'm willing to pay this. And I mean, I've heard that many times. So don't be hesitant to potentially outgrow some clients sometimes. Obviously, we want to mitigate that or minimize it as best as possible, which I'll go into some strategies of how you can do that next. So complaint-free price adjustments, the next piece of it is really like bonuses or, there's two sides of it. It could be, you provide some people the same price, but there's a benefit for you, or you're adding extra value and you're charging appropriately for it. So you get to choose, okay? So like, I'll make this clearer. For your existing clients, what I would do is you could charge them the same price and be like, hey, you know what? You're exempt from the, price increase for your grooming. However, to keep your existing price and avoid this increase, what I need you to do is I need you to be willing to pre-book all of your appointments for 2024. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. And then you tell them maybe it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it is. And then you have them pre-book. As long as they pre-book and they show up for their appointments, they get to keep that rate. Now, if they decide that, no, I want to do it every 10 weeks and they go off of the schedule that is best for their dog, then you're like, I'm sorry, like you're going to have to pay the updated price. But like this can be a really simple way where you can retain clients and you're not going to lose as many for the price increase, providing that you get something out of it too, which is, the ability to forecast some of your clientele much further in advance. So that can be something. For daycares, for example, it might be a subscription. Let's pretend you are going to increase your daycare prices by $15 per drop-in. You're like, hey, okay, so we're going to offer a subscription, monthly subscription. You get to keep the same price of whatever, $25 a day. But what you are is you get Mondays every week, and you have to pay $100 per month for your subscription. If you want to just do random day drop-ins, you're more than welcome, but the price is $35 per drop-in. So they're like, well, okay, do I want to have a schedule and I get a lower price? So you just choose what's more important, convenience, but you're going to pay for the convenience of coming and going whenever you want, or consistency. If you guys do this for us, it's beneficial to us because we can predict revenue better. We can predict how many dogs are coming in. So we're going to provide you with the same price, no increase for you. The other option is prepaying. So for example, sometimes you could, let's say you sold, once again, we'll just use daycare as an example, is let's say you wanted to sell, I don't know, 3 months of daycare. You could have them prepay, and then they get that reduced rate for the entirety of those 3 months. That's not the greatest example. It's just kind of what I thought of off the moment, but prepaying for stuff can help them maintain their existing price in any event. Or the other alternative is adding value. Now, you can do one or the other. Not usually going to do probably both. But for example, what I would probably do is this column A, if you will, is more likely going to be for existing clients, and this column B might be for new clients. So all new clients have to pay the new price. So for grooming, this is simple. Okay. Yeah. My existing clients, they get on a pre-booking schedule. They get the old price. Any new clients, whether they're pre-booking or not, they have to pay the new price. Then you have no one that's going to complain because new people don't know any better of what your prices were versus what they are. And if you're busy enough, you don't have to accept everyone. So like if you're busy and you have more business than you can handle, you like absolutely should raise your prices so you compensate yourself more. If you're happy with your level of compensation, then I have no idea why you're watching this video. So anyways, added value. So the other option is, hey, when you do a price adjustment or increase, if you showcase the additional value that they get, and then you spend most of your time explaining that instead of giving excuses and apologies, that's going to resonate better with people. And then you have a little bit of at the bottom where it says price adjustment now reflects X amount of dollars. And it's just what the total cost is for that particular service. So for example, we did this recently with, a group dog class. So puppy adolescent class, those kinds of things. What we did was we added a bonus. Our bonus was weekly Zoom Q&A calls with one of our trainers. so that every single person that joins our group classes now gets access to a trainer. And why is that perceived potential like significant value? Because lots of times when you're teaching a group class, you don't have time to delve into particular issues outside of the curriculum of the group class, because you've got, 6, 7, 8 other dog owners around you that need your help right then. So you can't spend 20 minutes talking to one person about, let's say, a puppy nipping issue. You have to address the group often for lots of this stuff. So, there's a lot more value in our class because people get like, what was something that was missing from most group classes? Well, what do you think? It's personalized support. Well, what if we could give them personalized support, but in a way that was, simpler for us to do? Well, we can. We offer a weekly Zoom call that everyone can jump onto, and we can give them personalized support, but they have to meet us halfway by joining us on the Zoom. Anyways, once again, training, let's just say you wanted to increase prices. Well, maybe you add treats or a leash or some bonus that's showcased. Hey, we're starting to add this. We really love this product. We think it works amazing and is a really good compliment for your dog when they come to our class. And that's built into the cost of the session. Our class fee now for our 6-week program is XYZ dollars. So the last piece of it is you want to, like, price adjustments sometimes are really not well received if people get surprised by it. So let's just pretend they sign up or they bring their dog in for a grooming and you're like, hey, okay, your total is $90 today. And they're like, I paid $75 last time. And you're like, oh, well, our prices went up. People are going to get mad at that. So don't do that. So you want to make sure you notify your clientele so they're well aware. Now, if you're in a group dog class, well, they're going to have to complete your registration, presumably, that has the price on it. So you don't have to be as deliberate with notifying them because it's going to be clear on your website, etc. So it depends what kind of service you're in. But don't surprise people. They hate that. But so you can post, share, or notify existing client base about your prices and the adjustment. But once again, most of the content of my message is explaining the new bonus added value that we're offering. So for example, let's say you were a boarding facility, well, you might be talking about, hey, every boarding stay of 3 days or more, get a complimentary nail trim and bath. And that's just what we do. Nightly stays are now $45.97. So that's how you'd want to think about doing it. Make sure you update all your places where the price adjustments would be needed for people to see, like a website and your forms, etc. But basically, that's the fundamental premise of how to make it less complicated and conflict-free or complaint-free in this circumstance, setting yourself up to succeed when you realize it's time to raise prices and adjust them. How can I do that in a way that my client is okay with it, or even like good with it, where they see the value that the extra value I'm adding? Or if you want to give some of your existing clients a bit of a thank you and keep the price the same for them, well, they have to meet you halfway and you have to get something out of it too, which is, for example, prepaying or pre-booking. So I hope that's been of benefit. By all means, comment on this video wherever it's posted in front of you if you found value in it, and let me know if you'd like me to make some more similar content.